Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God.
What?
We made it.
I know.
Out of that horrible year. Oh. I got to say, yeah. Well, we made it.
We did.
Could have been worse. It's hard to imagine how it could have been worse.
It could have been
Definitely
worse.
could have been better. No major deaths. I mean, apologize. I know some people did die, beloved artists and things like that on the way out, but nothing like last year.
Right.
That's good. And, to that end, we can celebrate one more time. And I love how just, the turning of the stars and the earth and events lead up to us hoping that Stanley makes that birthday very late in the year every year.
Yes.
Sad to say, I probably, if I participated in a death pool, he probably would have been on it, but he made it.
He made it.
95 years old.
Yeah.
So happy birthday to Stan the man.
Happy birthday, Stan.
Yes. Of course, his wife did not make it, so
No.
bad news there. Everything's terrible.
I know.
But it can only go up. We've hit bedrock. It's time to start building.
That's right.
That's we're going to build the foundation. And so to that end, this show is a celebration of what we can find to celebrate about from 2017. And I look forward to 2018. This is the Just Enough Trope podcast. I'm your host, Kaliban, joined as always by my co-host.
Hi, I'm Mikan Hana.
And yeah, we're here to run it down and talk about some of our faves from the past year in the world of nerdy entertainment. Also some of our least faves.
Yes.
Stuff we didn't like, but we won't spend too much time on that sort of stuff. We'll hit the news for old time's sake, and then we'll do a comic book club, and this is a special one. This is I've wanted to do this one for a while, for a year, in fact. We're talking about I Die at Midnight.
Yes.
By Kyle Baker, a Vertigo book from the year 2000, I believe. I'm not going to look that up. You know how I know it's from the year 2000?
How?
The subject matter, which we'll talk about when we talk about the book.
Yeah.
Also the fact that there's it's set in New York, so it would absolutely be about the Two Towers if it happened a year later. So
That's true.
It must be in the year 2000. And so
You're absolutely right.
We'll talk about that. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Cal.
You made it.
Yeah.
We all did.
Whew. It was a close one.
It certainly was. And we just barely made it. But yeah, looking forward to new things, good things coming up.
Me too.
What are you looking forward to in the new year?
I'm looking forward to Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, what else? There's other things I'm looking forward
Avengers,
to.
Infinity
Yeah,
War.
Avengers Infinity War.
Or Affinity War.
Affinity?
Yeah, everybody is jealous. Tony's jealous of people like Cap, and so he's trying to get them to like him and have an affinity for him. So that's just a little bit of wordplay, and not going to miss that. And we'll have a big announcement, of course, at the end of the show, so stick around for that. Let's talk about that news. So everything is terrible, as we know, and it continues to be terrible, and the fallout from Hollywood sex scandals continues.
Oh, boy.
And it has hit home on the nerd front with Max Landis being accused of sexual harassment and assault on Twitter.
Okay.
Now, the news cycles, we haven't talked about the news in a while on the show just because people kind of take the last part of December off.
Yes.
And maybe even the first, I've been looking at the news today and there's not much. So this is all kind of news from the last month of the year. But it was recent. Nobody's really followed up on this, which makes me wonder, not about its veracity, but you hear something like actress so-and-so, accuses Harvey Weinstein, and then like 40 other people go, oh, yeah,
me too.
Hashtag, right, exactly. And so this has not been widely reported or really widely followed up on, so it makes me wonder if news outlets saw it and went, oh, yeah, we've heard the rumblings about that, but kind of like the TJ Miller thing. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yes,
but somebody
I did.
Made accusations about TJ Miller, and he flatly denied them. And my thing is like, let's see, TJ Miller, Max Landis, as far as the court of public opinion goes, you've been spreading bloody gloves around for years. You know what I mean?
Right.
Two guys that nobody would invite to their birthday party, like assholes. Now, it doesn't mean that they are guilty of what they've been accused of, but you start below ground in terms of like digging yourself out of the situation.
That's true.
And it's not great for his movie Bright, which premiered recently on Netflix.
Right.
That's that. I just don't think it's for me. Here's the thing on Max Landis for me. Certainly energetic. No matter what he says, receives. He gets a leg up because of who his dad is.
Sure.
But I feel like his scripts are they're very basic.
Okay.
There isn't a lot of nuance to that. And this is, what if black people were orcs? And I'm like, well, Peter Jackson did that already. But, it's
right.
like, it's a cop procedural set in a world where there's racial tension between fairies and goblins, instead of like regular people
okay.
who aren't white. And to me, it's like, yeah, okay, I get it. So it's
All
90
right.
minutes? Okay. Wow. That seems like a long time. Because I got it already. But it's not. It's been rated very poorly. It's in the 20s on Rotten Tomatoes, Metacritic, whatever. But the audience score is super high.
Okay.
And so I think people, genre fans are rushing to his defense. And it may be motivated by the accusations and things that have come out. Who knows? But anyway, DC Comics is not having any of it. And Max Landis had written a Superman story for a DC Comics collection called the DC Universe Holiday Special.
Okay.
And he was dropped. They just dropped him.
Oh, wow.
He's out.
All right.
Because why? Why keep him?
Why have him stick around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, especially after the whole Eddie Berganza thing, you think like DC needs to look like they care about this sort of thing.
Clean up house.
So hot right now.
Yeah.
To look like you care about injustice.
Yes.
So that's where we're at on that. I guess updates, if they should arise as the story continues, but I wish it would stop.
I wish it would too.
Yeah, I wish the story would be over, but it continues to go. Did we talk about the repeal of net neutrality at all?
I don't know that we
must
really
have at
went into
some
the
point.
details.
Yeah, we didn't go into detail. Because that is... no, I know we did, because we talked about Fox being acquired by Disney.
Right.
And how I think everybody agrees that that's certainly... content creators and distributors, that's on their minds right now.
Right.
And so you've got that kind of in the mix. Little news bits, that Quentin Tarantino movie, the Star Trek movie is apparently going forward. We don't know where he is so far. I don't.
Okay.
This is such a weird story too, because he just goes, "Yeah, I'd like to do a Star Trek movie." 3 years ago on the Nerdist, and now somebody must have listened to that or poked him about it again, because suddenly this thing's off to the races and it's just going. It was like a rumor, and now it's totally in. And they've gotten a writer, a screenwriter now, the guy that wrote the Revenant. Mark L. Smith.
All right.
Is going to be writing this R-rated Star Trek movie, which is not what we need.
No.
You do not need an R rating
No.
for Star Trek to be good, but I'm willing to go along with it. Tarantino's involvement, we still don't know if this will be, a band apart production, or if he will. I'm sure he'll, do a pass on the script. There's been no concrete chatter about him directing.
Okay.
But I mean, if it's going to be a Tarantino movie,
then he'd be
direct
directing it.
Yeah.
Right.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
You got
Not
your
just
Manson movies in the
producing it.
can, right?
Yeah.
Is it because, and I don't know if you know this, but, and I'm going to get the numbers wrong, but essentially like a while ago, like when he got started, after he was working at Blockbuster, talking about in the movies, the movie business proper.
Yes.
He said that he was going to direct like 10 movies. I'm going to do 10 movies and then I'm done. And so that's why all his films start with like the 8th movie by Quentin Tarantino or whatever. But he keeps sort of up revising that number.
Okay.
I think as he has new and different ideas.
Okay.
But I think that he still thinks of his vision as special. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I've got 10, I got 12, I got 15. I've got X amount of things to say, and then I'm done. And so maybe he doesn't want to waste one of those on a Star Trek movie.
But then why be all like, I'm going to do a Star Trek movie?
Yeah, I know. Exactly. Right.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
No, and, it's one of those things where, and I think that Star Trek as a business, JJ is nominally involved still.
Right.
Kurtzman is, I don't know, he got that job at Blockbuster that Tarantino vacated. So they really need like a producer presence You know what I mean?
Right.
I think they're, that spot is ripe to be taken. So I think when a guy like Tarantino says, I'll do it, they're like, sure, yeah. I mean, we got nobody to say, this is my sandbox. You can't come in here.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's not like I don't need to see a Star Trek movie in the style of Quentin Tarantino, but we've had so many Star Trek movies, and some of them have been good, and a lot of them haven't. A strong producer could, produce something.
Yes.
Like, what would that look like?
I don't know, but it
Like
would be
Yes.
Tarantino-esque.
It would be, yeah. Instead of the Beastie Boys, it would be Kay Bailey's Super Sounds in the 70s.
Right.
Get a little Kirk's jamming out to some Steelers Wheel.
There you go.
Or something like that. But now that I say it, sounds good. I give it a try. Why not?
Yeah.
It looks like things are not going well in Hollywood, or maybe they are. Nobody seems to know.
Okay.
The domestic box office was 11.12. We have a lot of precision in our figures here. $1 billion this year.
Okay.
It's the third best ever, and it's the third time that the box office has crossed that mark for the third year in a row. So I guess the year before and the year before that were either 1 and 2 or 2 and 1.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Right.
And Disney, this is the third year, and Disney, who's pushing this, because this is the third year in a row that Disney has gone over $2 billion domestically, and
Yes.
over about, I think, like $6 billion internationally.
Okay.
So it's crazy receipts as far as that goes. Except ticket sales, like people actually going to the movies, is like as low as it's ever been.
Really?
Yeah, it's a 22-year low.
Well, that's strange.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if it's like clearly the tickets are worth more. Or the studios are getting a bigger cut of them. And we know what we've talked
Right.
about in the past about Disney gets like a huge cut of the ticket price.
That's true.
So they're making the money, but it's off of less tickets. So if people were
Okay.
actually going to movies, this number would be twice that.
Even bigger.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a weird kind of situation that the movie business finds itself in. And I was ruminating on this the other night. We went to see, there's a local sort of art cinema in town, and we went to see Predator.
Yes.
It's like the last existing 35 millimeter print of Predator.
Yes.
Here's a short review. Great. Still great.
Yeah.
Just a great movie. Especially,
I saw it for the first time.
Oh, yeah. You hadn't seen it before. What'd you think?
I thought it was great.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the same as mine.
Yeah.
And if you know the story behind the film, it's amazing that they even got that film. Like, it was not,
Yeah.
It was a labored sort of shoot. And there was a lot of things that were questionable when they were making that film. And yet it just nice, clean, fun, good movie.
Yeah.
And, but as I was watching it and I was looking at all the neckbeards who were watching it with us, I'd probably have a neckbeard if I can grow one. It's not, I ain't hating.
Stop.
I was thinking, we're all fans of a genre that's dying. This genre is dying.
Yeah.
We're in this theater that was started by a couple of guys, nice guys. One of them was a guest on Craft of Services,
Yeah.
the movie podcast on this network, where we talk about the history of this theater. It's called the Trilon Theater. But it was started because they were like, well, we don't really like, what's going on in movies right now, and the kind of movies we want to see are old movies, and they're not shown anymore. And so let's create this cinema where tickets are, sub $10, cheap popcorn, come in, see something you wouldn't see somewhere else. But that can only exist sort of in the ruins of the robot apocalypse that that movies have become.
Right.
And so, there's all this competition with, like, Bright. Bright is David Ayer, Suicide Squad guy, Will
Yeah.
Smith, Mr. Summer,
Yep.
and Max Landis, hot screenwriter, and that's released on Netflix.
Yes.
That thing could have gone straight to the theaters, and not in December, but in February, something like that, could have done pretty good.
Sure.
Release it. It's got orcs in it. Release it around October, Halloween. You would have been fine.
Yeah.
But they were like, no, screw that. We're going to do this and just do it on a streaming service. And so movies are fighting that. The least amount of people in 22 years have gone to movies. We are in this weird position where we're watching this thing die in front of us. It would be like if
Yeah.
a bunch of people got together with their wax cylinders and just sat around the Victrola or something like that, and they're like, sounds better. And meanwhile, kids are playing Elvis records down the block. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the sock hop. Like, it's not going fast, but it is happening. And we are sitting and watching it happen. And I don't know how to feel about that. Because part of me compares it, using my comparison to like Victrolas and stuff. Good, fine. Maybe it sounds better on vinyl, but I like having all the songs that have ever been written ever in my pocket.
Right.
I like being able to just listen to whatever I want to immediately.
Right.
And of course, music companies are pulling their hair out that I can just go to YouTube and listen to any song ever, and it doesn't cost them a dime. But that business is weathering that transition.
Right.
And I just wonder, I mean, Netflix is just the future, right?
It is.
Because Disney's already getting into the streaming game. At some point, they'll start releasing Ant-Man 3 right to digital. They'll just skip like distribution. They'll skip the theater because they know that everybody's got their service and they'll watch it there anyway.
Huh.
So you'll start to have like big, the next Avengers film will be a cinema experience, but it'll probably have a day and date release like at home as well.
Okay.
And I just think that's the way it's going to go. Like sitting in the dark, looking in one direction, that's leaving. That's going away.
That's kind of sad.
It makes you sad?
Yeah, it makes me sad.
Do tell.
I just kind of nostalgic for it. I mean, it's a legacy,
Yeah. Those wax cylinders are gathering dust, though.
Okay.
Or the wire recorder.
The wire recorder?
Yeah. So before we came up with cellophane, tape or celluloid or whatever, like in a tape.
Yes.
Like an audio tape. For a short time, they recorded on wire, a magnetized wire.
Okay.
So it'd just be like a spool of wire, and it passes through a thing, and it works the same way. It's magnetized like a tape is.
Okay.
But for some reason that patent was out first, or I guess I don't know the whole history of broadcasting, but that was in fashion before tapes. If you look at, you know what? Dick Tracy, the movie Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
Which is set in like the late 20s, early 30s, right?
Yeah.
Like pre-war cartoon town, because it's not like a real city. There's a scene where they're trying to get Dustin Hoffman to talk, and they're playing back what he said, because he mumbles, and he's like, but they have a wire-to-wire or like a reel-to-reel wire recorder, and they grab the wire and it like slows it down, and then they can hear what he's saying. Big Boy did it.
Okay.
Barbara did it. Barbara did it. Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah.
Remember when we liked him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't like him anymore?
No, he's been accused by like 8 people
Oh,
of like sexually assaulting them.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's all coming down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's dying from 2 diseases at once.
Yeah.
One of them is a bacterial. It can be cured with an antibiotic, which is getting the scum out of Hollywood. But the other one is a wasting disease, and we don't know if we're going to come back from that one. Happy New Year!
Yeah.
Everything is moving forward.
New
Here's some
things.
more bad news.
Oh, boy.
Marvel has taken the axe to its lineup and eliminated quite a few books.
Uh-oh.
And a lot of people are crying foul about the kind of books they've canceled.
Uh-oh.
A lot of them seem to be diversity books. So Gwenpool, gone. America, featuring the adventures of Miss America Chavez from the Young Avengers, a biracial gay woman, gone. She-Hulk has been canceled.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah, a couple things getting
All
canceled.
female books so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not great.
No, it's not. How do you feel?
I feel like when people thought it was for diversity books that are being canceled, I feel like they were right.
But why wouldn't Marvel just go, eh? I mean, certainly Marvel's got the argument of sales, because I think we can pull up the numbers. I'm not going to, but we can pull up the numbers, and these books probably aren't selling more than Spider-Man.
Right.
Or whatever.
I understand that, but still, like, to cancel, it just seems kind of suspect.
Yeah, it certainly does. Wouldn't you? There's something called a loss leader, right? It's when you decide you're going to continue to market this thing or sell something. And the reason being is that it's not making you a lot of money, but it's a form of technology that you know that the marketplace is going to catch up with. So you want to maintain your position as being the person that offers this.
Right.
Or in the case of this, it is having a book about a biracial gay lady.
Right.
You know? Like, how much does it really cost you to keep publishing it to be able to say that you're publishing it?
Right. Exactly. And, I mean, She-Hulk, I imagine...
Well, She-Hulk is...
pretty popular.
Yeah. She's had quite a few chances at the plate. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to worry about that one too much.
Okay.
But still, it's bad news. Yeah, nobody knows what's going on at Marvel editorial. I should mention a few of the other books that were canceled. And when I finally get through them all, it's going to sound real bad.
Okay.
Generation X, which, whatever.
Okay.
Luke Cage.
Okay.
Iceman.
All right.
Gay guy.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know, Hawkeye, whatever. If Jeff Lemire can't make people read a Hawkeye book, then I don't know what you can do with that.
No.
Although disabled, hearing impaired.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I don't know.
And here's what Joe Quesada had to say.
What did you say?
What is he even anymore? He's the chief creative officer, which, I mean, doesn't really mean anything, I guess. But he says in a tweet 2 weeks ago, he said, if a comic finds an audience, it will stick around regardless of the lead character or creator's gender, ethnicity, sexual preference, or identification. You can claim we're tone deaf, but we published, in caps, those books, but you guys ultimately decide what survives.
Oh, so he's blaming it on the fans.
Yeah, it's our fault.
Okay.
Here's my grade for Marvel 2017. Thumbs down. Not to mention they hired a liar who pretended to be a Japanese guy. Right? You know about that.
Yeah. That's not okay.
Yeah, that's not okay at all. And that's a whole other thing that I don't have to go into. But now I have a reason for hating C.B. Cebulski all these years. I always just irrationally did, mainly because whenever I saw him speak at a panel or something like that, he just seemed like an asshole. But now I know that he's an irresponsible, lying asshole. That's not funny.
Oh,
it's not funny at all.
I guess not.
Anything good we can say about DC?
They're not canceling books.
They're probably canceling some. On the TV side, except for the Andrew Kreisberg thing, things are really pushing forward on the DC side because that Black Lightning show is coming through.
All right.
I don't know when it premieres. Probably, spring of this year or whatever. That's a real deal. The Titan show is continuing.
Okay.
So
good.
we're definitely going to get that Titan show, which I feel like a couple of years ago we were talking about it and it seemed real kind of iffy, and then we didn't hear anything about it for a long time. But it's the real deal.
That could be really good.
Gonna have Robin in it.
Yeah.
How do you not have Batman stop by?
Ooh.
They will.
Oh boy.
Won't they?
Maybe.
Because even when they had the Young
Maybe
Justice...
have them in the shadows.
Right. Well, good one. Even when they did the Young Justice show, it was like, all right, it's about these teens and their heroes. But it's like, no, Superman and Aquaman and Green Arrow and Batman and everybody shows up.
Right.
And part of the whole thing was that it was about them stepping out from under the auspices and the wing of, if you will, the bat wing of their sort of parent heroes. But
right.
Stick them in there. Now that Superman has been on Supergirl, I think the gloves are off.
I suppose.
The bat spiky gauntlets are off as far as having Batman on a Robin show, right?
Yeah. I suppose you're right.
Because otherwise he's just a kid in short pants. A kid in chainmail underwear. Yeah, man, they got some weird ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that really it? Is that, you don't have any news to contribute? That's all the news from 2017?
I think that's all the news from 2017.
That's not, I know you're agreeing, but that's not really a yes. That's just that's a yup. That's not a yes and.
Oh, sorry.
This is when you...
That's all the news that we have, folks.
No, that's just a no.
Oh.
You want to talk about aliens, about UFOs?
What about UFOs?
The fact that this guy, Luis Elizondo, he was the head of the Defense Department's, it's called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program.
Okay.
So, you know what Operation Blue Book is or was, right?
I've heard of it.
It was this government program. I don't know if it was FBI specifically. Well, the X-Files, I suppose, probably was. Anyway, the point is that all these people, the hills, all these people saw like aliens, supposedly. So the government's like, all right, well, fine. And they opened up a investigation that was ongoing. And I think closed in the 80s or so. They closed the book and just said, look, it doesn't seem like there's aliens. People are just seeing stuff.
Okay.
It's not aliens. Well, in 2007, yeah, that's right. As late as 2007, this new program was opened, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. And it was led by this guy, Luis Elizondo. And its job was to check out, the alien stuff.
Sure.
But the way to do it, here's the real investigation thing. You can have somebody like, the Hills say they got kidnapped and maintain it for their entire life, but you have no evidence. A lot of this evidence comes from military sources.
Okay.
Because we've got jets flying around all the time. Afghanistan, or like spy planes, or just maneuvers, and all jets have cameras on them. They're like Russian cars.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So you're picking up all the time. And there's they always say, skeptics always say, weird. We all got high definition video cameras in our pockets 6 years ago. Ain't nobody seen no aliens.
Right.
It's weird. Well, this guy would beg to differ with that. And so they've gone over all this footage and they've looked at this stuff. And the program was closed in 2012. But I don't know, for some reason, this guy is starting to make the talk show rounds. And he's saying, beyond a reasonable doubt, UFOs do exist.
Okay.
And there's some grainy video, like there always is, showing spots of light that, are moving in non-aerodynamic ways and doing things that we can't explain. And supposedly the government at some of these sites has found unidentifiable alloys of metal that they don't recognize.
All right.
So, great story if it ends there, right?
Right.
On the Today Show. But if you keep digging, it becomes very interesting. Apparently, Harry Reid, who is a long-serving senator, basically, and I think he's on like the defense, whatever you call it, the not a civics major, board, the committee.
Sure.
He basically like almost single-handedly like started this program.
Okay.
In 2007. So like, because a friend of his who is a donor to him.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not just the Republicans that take a lot of money. Basically worked in the aerospace industry and went, you got to check this out. There's a lot of weird stuff going on.
Okay.
And so Harry Reid, because his friend thinks there's aliens, created a multi-million-dollar, perhaps billion-dollar government program to study them.
Holy cow.
So this story started off as asking whether they're aliens, and now it's just asking where's governmental responsibility. But we got 3 years left of that to worry about at least. So I just think it's funny. Nothing has discredited this guy, but it's because you can't prove something's not true.
Right.
What do you think about it? Do you believe in aliens?
I think it's interesting. I don't know if I believe in aliens or not. I mean, there's part of me that thinks like, well, we have such a big universe, it'd be crazy not to have aliens. But then there's another part of me that thinks that, well, that's just gobbledygook and,
yes,
there are no aliens.
I think gobbledygook appeared in many of those accounts from the 50s. Because that is a very old word. I'm kind of right there, but I'll come down a little harder and say that, yeah, there absolutely has to be. Doesn't there? There just has to be.
I guess so.
There is certainly life out there. I mean, we found water on Mars.
Yes.
And not just the evidence of it. I don't think that, like, our rover got knocked over by a sudden storm or anything, but like we know that there is like right now there is briny water on Mars.
Right.
Briny water is all you need. I mean, you need
Yeah.
proteins and stuff like that too, but that's all you need. And so if you extend that out billions of years, over billions of years, something's going to happen. And that's just next door. That's
Right.
literally the next planet next to us.
Right.
So look at all the planets in all the solar systems and all the hundreds of millions of galaxies. Absolutely. Of course there's life
Yeah.
out there. We'll never know about it.
You don't think we will?
No, because it is impossible to travel faster than the speed of light. And you need to do that if you ever want to discover or find any of these things in any way that is, that you'll care about. Do you know what I mean?
Do you
like
think
we want to know
it's-
now. Siri can't tell me, so I don't care. I mean, we can send a ship out that'll take 1,000 years to get to Barnard's star or the Alpha Centauri system or something like that. And so 1,000 years later, these people with their Siris can pop out of a thing and look at a planet that we've determined is, has the right conditions for life. And if you see it, great. Tell us in another 1,000 years.
Right.
Or if you don't see it, actually, no, you can tell us in 4.5 years because you could just send a radio signal back. So in 1,004.5 years, if there isn't, well, you wasted quite a lot of time getting out there.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So unless there's something that we fundamentally don't understand, which is possibly, almost definitely true about the universe, but at least in terms of how relativity works, yeah, we just can't, we can't go anywhere. It's like you're a kid at your folks' cabin in the summer, and you've run out of books to read, and they don't plan to go into town until the weekend.
Right.
You're screwed.
Right.
You're just alone. There's nothing you can do.
Right.
So that's us.
Okay. Well, that's kind of depressing.
Yeah, but don't we have enough problems here to figure out, though? Do we really want to share our problems with somebody or let anybody else see us like this? We can't have company over. This place is a mess. And that's, I don't know. I kind of vacillate on the hopefulness in thinking that there are aliens out there and just like you said, the depressing idea that there are, but we'll never know. But when I first heard this news, I got a little excited because I thought, why would aliens come here? What could they possibly want from us? Because the whole thing about they want our air or something like that, if they have solved the mystery of crossing light years, to come check something out, they've certainly solved all their resource problems. There's nothing that we could give them unless it's the secretion from a human pituitary gland or something, in the really weird sci-fi stuff. But there's nothing, right? So it literally means, well, then it must be for the same reason that we would go, which is to say, hey, what's that?
Right.
Let's go check that out. And if we did that, if we went and invaded, quote unquote, we found a planet where there were aliens, we would take a ship in, we would come in and have some kind of stealth system. We'd be very careful not to alert anybody. We'd just look at them and check them out and stuff like that. And then maybe if we felt like their civilization had reached a certain point, we'd go, all right, let's send them a signal or just do that thing where you walk into a room and you can tell somebody doesn't know you're there. And you don't want to come up and tap them on the shoulder because they'll freak out.
Right.
So you go, we can clear our throats from a signal perspective and then let them know and see what happens.
Okay.
And then, but before we even landed, have communications, go, well, do you think it would be cool if we came over or would that freak you guys out? And that sort of thing. And if that's what they're doing, then there's no problem because it means they're exactly like us.
That's true.
Because when you think about it, they might not have a quote unquote human mind or psychology at all. But then why would they be floating around and hiding and coming out of the ocean and stuff like that? Like they're, we put nefarious intent on it. But my thing is they don't want to freak us out.
I think you're probably right.
Thank you. Anything else to add?
Not really.
All right. That's the end of the news. All right. Well, we didn't get some aliens. That would have made 2017 just perfect. Although I have a feeling that they would have just went, turn it around, get out of here. But that didn't happen. So instead, we'll have to talk about the good parts of 2017, and specifically from a pop culture perspective. We're looking at movies and TV shows and comic books and that sort of thing. What did you enjoy in 2017?
I really enjoyed Wonder Woman. I thought it was a strong movie choice, and I just think that it was fun.
Yeah.
And it was a bright spot and a otherwise kind of bleak, not so bright movie year.
DC in their own way was finally doing their part in sort of turning around
Yes.
the grim direction of their series. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's from a counter programming perspective, it's the right time, because Marvel movies are only going to get darker and more depressing.
Yeah.
At least in this phase. They're going to become DC movies.
Yeah.
But hopefully they'll have earned the gravitas that they want to throw on it. But yeah, DC, somebody failed to screw up, is what I'm guessing. And yeah, they presented a fun, a fun movie that features people being gassed to death in World War I. But yeah.
Yeah.
An ebullient, bouncy kind of adventure with a attractive, attractive in types of in her personality.
Yes.
Not her looks, because she's a dog, hero, and yeah, delivered something that you wouldn't have expected.
Yeah.
Everybody, that's a gimme though. What about this? Lego Batman.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, really did enjoy Lego Batman very early in the year, and everybody kind of forgot about it, but probably the best. Talking about DC comic book movies, I think probably the best DC comic book movie to date. And probably the first Zach Galifianakis movie I've ever liked.
There you go.
So there you go. Looking forward to him disappointing me in Wrinkle in Time, but we'll see. We'll see about that. Yeah, just a really good movie. Well cast, funny. Those movies, the Lego movies, tend to be very frenetic. It's that Lord Miller thing.
Sure.
Which, man, I wish that Flash thing would work out with them, because he's the guy that's given the punchlines at the speed of light, Right. So it's very busy, and it's, sometimes it doesn't stop to catch its breath. But it's a film that is a silly one-off about a plastic version of a beloved character, but yet manages to delve into the psychology of that character in ways that regular Batman movies have failed to do.
That's true.
So, yeah, it's a fun movie and a great movie, and if you somehow haven't seen it, you should. Any other film picks for you for 2017?
Yeah, I really liked Logan. Another really early on film, but it was dark and gritty, but kind of the opposite of Wonder Woman in some ways.
Yeah.
But very powerful. And we got to see these beloved characters in ways that we hadn't seen them before. Yeah.
A bunch of people made this movie who made the previous Wolverine movies.
Right.
Somehow managed to create a third act out of a garbage first two acts.
Yes.
Like the first two Wolverine movies are like, what? And somehow, by really ignoring a lot of that, managed to put a coda on the series that's like, you could have been, all you needed was an R rating to do this.
Right.
You could have been doing this the entire time.
Right.
And sadly, no more Jackman, probably no more Mangold.
Yeah.
How do you build on it?
I don't know that you do.
And now you don't, because it's all Disney's now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Kevin Feige's a real smart guy, and I don't think that he would look any gift clone of Wolverine in the mouth. And let's give that little girl a shot to be Wolverine.
Yeah, there you go.
Movies. It'd be like, we want to, every time they want to reboot Spider-Man, people go, Miles Morales. It's like, well, I could see him being introduced as a secondary character, but you don't want to have the only Spider-Man in your universe be Miles Morales. He wasn't even in the Ultimate Universe, you know what I mean? So I'd love to see Laura be Wolverine in a new set of X-Men movies, but you're going to have Logan in there somewhere to start off with.
Yeah. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, me too. Still worried about the casting
Yeah.
for Wolverine.
Or
Who's
like,
Logan in a Disney movie?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Well, here's the funny part. They've had a lot of luck. Well, not a lot of luck, but they've had some luck, like digging into like, oh yeah, who was singer number 3 in High School Musical 5 or whatever? Like they have a
Right.
deep stable. They're Disney with all their kids shows and stuff.
It's true.
And some of those kids have turned around and become something pretty good. Like Zac Efron, love him. He's great.
Yeah, he is pretty great.
I like Zendaya. Yeah, so just keep doing that.
Yeah, there you go.
Now I got to go back and watch all these Wizards of Waverly Place to see if there's some kid with that glint in his eye. Yeah, the new Logan. Let's see. Since we're talking about Spider-Man Homecoming.
Very true.
Very surprising and very enjoyable.
Yes.
I don't think I was looking forward to it at all. Well, I mean, can you blame me?
No, I can't blame you.
But turned out to be, very enjoyable. And something that I think I've only seen twice. And I don't have time to watch anything. But every time I think about it, I'm like, I got to watch that again. Did you like it?
I enjoyed it.
What'd you like about it?
I loved, what's the kid's name who plays Peter Parker?
Tom Holland?
Tom Holland. He's great.
Yep.
He was fantastic as Spider-Man. I thought he was perfect casting.
Yeah, I like the kid that played Ned.
His best friend?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't normally, you put a Spider-Man movie together. They've put 5 together so far, not including this one. And you never think fun sidekick.
Right.
And never once have they thought that. You think his best friend's Harry Osborn, but they have to be in competition for Mary Jane, or Harry is on a skateboard trying to kill him or something.
Right.
And so they never just thought somebody like Ned Leeds. And so, yeah, having him in there was really great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having Aunt May know that he's Spider-Man, though. Spoilers for the very last scene in Spider-Man Homecoming. I don't know about that.
Yeah.
So we got to see where they take that.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that either.
And with all the Sony properties that are to come, Sony could get back up to their old tricks real fast.
Yeah.
Real fast as far as burying this thing goes. But I think Disney will probably always have a hand in future Spider-Man films.
Well, that's great to know.
I think. I mean, certainly with him being a part of Affinity War.
Yes.
So, any other films from 2017 you really liked?
I really liked Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah. Let's just name all the Marvel movies.
I know. But it was a fun movie. And they had a lot of fun doing it. I mean, that's clear to me. I wasn't expecting, a team up movie between Thor and the Hulk to be entertaining.
Sure.
And it was.
Yeah. Yeah, they did a really tough job of taking and this is one of the reasons I enjoyed it. It wouldn't be on my top integer movies of the year, but I did really like it. But mostly just because it kind of works in spite of itself, and it works because they just stopped caring.
Right.
Like I would have liked to have seen them somehow, and maybe it's impossible, but actually take the world of Thor, the Kenneth Branagh-esque sort of these and thous, and somehow make that super compelling. Here's an example. Do justice to the Scourge storyline.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Which becomes sort of like a visual thing in this, but we don't really get the sense of any of that Simonson stuff. And so it succeeds because they just went, all right, nobody really cares about any of this Thor stuff, right?
Right.
Like, what if we just make it kind of a side Guardians movie with Jeff Goldblum?
Right.
And it's like, oh, I'm in for that. You told me we're going to Outback and we're going to go to like a sushi place instead, and I still kind of want to taste that steak, but I'm going to really like this good sushi.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, it's great. And of course, Taika Waititi is just kicking ass down
Left
every
and
door.
right.
Yeah, he's got the werewolf sequel, We're Wolves, coming out. And he's got the What We Do in the Shadows TV show.
Oh, wow.
That they're developing. And so, yeah, he's doing fine.
Good for him.
Yeah, he is. Another kind of breakout filmmaker this year who had a great film was Get Out.
Yes.
That's absolutely on my list. It's a movie that I watched and went, that was good. I don't really know like what the big heyday was about, the hullabaloo. And then it was one of those films that I kind of kept going back to and kind of thinking about. And I was like, oh, yeah, that one part. Okay. Oh, yeah. Like when you, and I don't necessarily think every movie has to be like this, but when you start thinking about the structure of it, it's airtight. It's perfect. Like everything that happens, it's a movie, it's a gun store full of Chekhov's guns. Everything that's set up in the first half then folds over and like gets paid off in the second half. To stuff like, all right, the black guy picks cotton and stuffs it in his ear. Is like obvious,
right?
Yes. Powerful, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
And even the deer in the beginning, like, what's that all about? And then the deer head at the end comes in, where he kills the guy with the deer head and everything. And so there's just, it's when you watch it again, kind of knowing what's going to happen. It's a movie that rewards you. It's not like once you know the twist, it's useless like a Sixth Sense. Like you get. Okay, yeah, no, I'm going to see that get picked up later on. And for a guy who was just on the P and Keel and P and Peel and Key or Key and Peels, whatever the show is, who knew that he could do that?
Yeah,
write and direct that.
It was surprising in a good way.
It's the best movie that ever happened to the TSA. Any other ones you got, or maybe honorable mentions?
I would like to mention one that's not necessarily nerdy, but I really enjoy it, is Lady Bird.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Just saw this recently and thought it was a really great coming-of-age story.
Yeah, yeah.
Just really well written and performed.
Mm-hmm.
Thought it was funny.
Mm-hmm.
Just really enjoyed it.
I have to say, I've got two or three other movies. One or two other movies I want to mention, but that might be my favorite movie of the year.
It might be mine too.
And it's kind of in spite of myself, because it wasn't like my favorite movie of the year, but I think it's probably the best film of the year.
Okay.
And another kind of reason that I kind of balk at that is that, like you said, it's a coming of age story. We've got a million of those.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it's
for sure.
very conventional in what it's trying to convey, but it does it so well.
Yes.
And from somebody who has, written, has assisted in writing movies before, but is writing this one and directing it all by herself. It's another one of those, where did she come from?
Right.
And we know where she came from. She's been in films and doing films for 10 years or whatever. But,
right.
When you have to do something all by yourself like this, it's amazing.
Yes.
And it tells that kind of story perfectly.
Yes.
Except for the ending is a little weak.
It is a little weak.
But a lot of
I would agree with you on
good
that.
movies this year, the end is a little weak. I'll now turn into Call Me By Your Name.
All right.
Which is probably, if Lady Bird's number one, I think Call Me By Your Name is number 3, and I'll get to my number 2 in a second.
Okay.
Which is a great movie. It's like, oh my God, who gave Bertolucci the Vita Ray potion that took 30 years off his life? Like, yeah, it's a great film, and I didn't realize. I mean, I knew it was based on a book, but it's based on this book, and the book. This explains, I think, kind of the sort of weakness in the ending is that the book follows their lives over the next 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which is why there's been talk about there being a sequel.
Okay.
Because it's so well loved. And like the leads are like, we'll do it. The director, Luca Guadagnino's like, he's on board. Because you've got it built in. You can just continue to tell the story. It becomes like a before sunrise for gay dudes. Yeah. But otherwise, like, beautiful film. That kid, Timothy Chalamet or whatever.
Yeah.
He's kicking ass.
Yeah.
And it occurred to me that he plays in Lady Bird and in Call Me By Your Name basically the same character. He plays like a privileged young white kid who's disillusioned.
Yeah.
And yet two totally different sort of takes on that same character.
Yeah.
Like he could have just as easily had just slouched through both films.
Yes, he could
and they're totally different. And so, yeah, I mean, I don't mean to, in a world full of female films and gay films, I don't mean to give it to like the straight white kid, but he did really good.
Yeah, he did.
And I should say that Saoirse Ronan was really great in Lady Bird too.
Yes.
looking forward to big things from her.
Yeah, I am too.
I always hate it when like a child actor is really good and she's great in Atonement, and then you never really see anything from them ever again.
Right.
Like Haley Steinfeld was really good in True Grit, but now she's got like a singing career, and it's like, oh, you're just not going to act anymore, or you're not going to do anything really important. So yeah, a lot of fresh young talent. I don't know if this is a fresh young talent, but I'll chime in with my second best film of the year, although my favorite film of the year, which is The Killing of a Sacred Deer.
All right.
Fantastic. So good. We are in the midst of the Collinsance, and we don't even know it. The Collins, or maybe the age of Farrellment or something like that. But Colin Farrell is kicking ass, and it's all thanks to Yorgos Lanthimos, the guy behind Dogtooth and the guy behind The Lobster, which was... it was critically acclaimed. It came out 2 years ago, but it's one of those movies, like all of his movies, that they're polarizing. But I don't mean polarizing like, if I don't say The Last Jedi is good, my entire life falls apart in that room full of $3,000 worth of Star Wars toys. I should just lock it up and never go in there again. I mean polarizing because, well, I was going to say you don't get it, but I don't want to be snobbish. Because it's not designed for you to enjoy.
Okay.
It's designed for you to experience something. And what I love about his films, and if you see have you seen Dogtooth?
I have not.
You got to see Dogtooth. That's a good place to start. That tells you everything you need to know. If you hate Dogtooth, do not continue watching his films.
Okay.
But if you watch Dogtooth and you go, okay, I'm really weirded out, but there's kind of something there. His stuff only gets easier to watch as it goes, because now he's in Hollywood. But yeah, he's deconstructing these kinds of tales. Weird things happen. Sometimes they're semi-magically real, but his characters all deliver their dialogue in this clipped, kind of Aspergerian kind of way. Okay. Like characters just say what they're feeling. Sure. I call it like sad Wes Anderson movies are what Lanthimos' movies are. Because like at the beginning of Killing of a Sacred Deer, it has really nothing to do that much with the plot, but Colin Farrell's a doctor and his doctor friend are walking down the hall after an operation, and Colin Farrell's got this nice watch, and the guy goes, I like your watch, and he goes, thank you. It's water resistant to 200 meters. It's got a metal band. I have a leather band as well, but I enjoy the metal. I think it goes well with the rest of the face of the watch. He goes, is $200 expensive? It's not expensive to me. It's worth it for the quality. Like, it's just, if that's what it is. And you watch it and you're like, what is going on? Are these real people? But he's doing this Brechtian kind of thing. You know what I mean? Sure. He's introducing this distancing effect so that crazy things will happen later. And instead of you going, I don't even care about these robot people, it's a weird experiment. You have the same emotional reactions to the things that befall these characters, even though they themselves often show little emotion or empathy. Okay. And yet it's like a magic trick somehow. It's like, no, I care about the girl because she's going, the killer's going to get me. But you get the same effect in his films without all that extra work, without all that histrionics. Huh. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just for me or for a small group of people who like that sort of thing. But yeah, I think it's really good. Awesome. Any other movies? Let's talk about the worst movies.
Okay, let's talk about the worst movies.
Yeah, what do you got?
Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Okay. Worst or ones you didn't like? I guess it's what we don't like.
Yes.
Yeah, all right. I mean, at this point, do you have to justify?
I don't know.
You don't have Wikipedia on your side to prove why you don't like it. So
no, I don't.
Yeah, I'm mad.
But it just was. They had some scenes in it that were like, why is this in here? Like the whole casino thing. Yeah. They didn't need to do that like at all. Yeah. The slow ships fighting each other very slowly. Yeah. Was very labored. Luke not really teaching Rey anything.
Yeah, right.
And yet she just knows stuff. So, and the Force connection between her and Kylo Ren, which apparently was Snoke.
I guess, because he said it was.
Because he said it
was.
Oh,
he's dead.
Yeah, he's gone now.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yep. Many molecules of oxygen and carbon dioxide have been spilled by us over that.
Yes.
What about a surprise? Oh, no, wait. We can't surprise you because we've talked about all the major things, but we'll just revisit and then not belabor them. Didn't like Baby Driver.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I didn't like it. I think I was proved right in that nobody's talking about it. It's not going to be music, maybe cinematography, but it's not going to be nominated for anything.
With Kevin Spacey in it.
Well, yeah, what a lucky break for me and not liking it. Another overrated one, Blade Runner.
Oh,
Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah.
Didn't like that much, and neither did audiences, but, nobody liked the first one either when it first came out. So history will prove whether it stands up like the first one did. I think I said in our review that I don't think it will. It will almost definitely win for cinematography. Because it was Deakins, right? Yeah, so he'll win. I don't think he's ever actually won.
Oh, okay.
Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
But I know that everybody loves him, and I feel like he is somehow underappreciated at this point. But he will definitely be rated. This one's going to hurt. I didn't think The Big Sick was, all that great.
No, I didn't think it was all that great either.
I mean, it's not bad. It's fine. If you had just surprised me with this film, I would have been like, oh, it's a nice film. But knowing how insane everybody has been over it and how much sort of buzz it's got, I'm like, for that? I kind of liked What If more.
Yeah, I kind of did too.
What is What If?
What If is another movie with the same actress.
Zoe Kazan, yeah.
And Daniel Radcliffe and Adam Driver.
Which is not a good movie.
No.
But it's kind of similar. It's like, fun. How am I ever going to get the guts to be with the woman who's perfect for me and that I love?
Right.
Oh, screw you. Any other big losers for you?
I have to say Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Oh, yeah. How many Marvel movies came out this year? Jeez.
I know. But it was just kind of disappointing.
But a disappointment doesn't mean it's on your worst of list.
It was pretty bad.
Okay.
I feel like it didn't deliver on how amazing the first one was.
Sure.
And maybe that's really tall order to deliver on, but it just fell short, and you felt it while you were watching the movie.
Kind of a letdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
It was kind of belabored, I felt like.
Yeah.
A little long.
I think that could be one of the buzzwords of this year, which is forced humor.
Yeah.
Whether it's, this is supposed to be a funny movie, but these jokes needed another go about or two.
Yeah.
Or, why is there a joke here?
Right.
I got that in Thor a lot. This movie is so funny, you can't let the movie have 2 seconds to do something like mourn the loss of the entirety of Asgard. No, it's gone. It's gone. Wow. We couldn't have taken one. I mean, in this film, Odin has died. The Warriors 3 have died.
Yep.
Most of Asgard has died.
Yep.
All this has happened. Scourge has died. Mjolnir's destroyed. The entirety of Asgard is destroyed.
Yep.
Waka waka.
Yeah.
Thor loses an eye.
I know.
All this is, and the movie ends with them all being raped and plundered by Thanos 5 seconds after the camera's cut out.
Right.
Waka waka waka. Just thought all right, well, it made me laugh. Anything else? I'd love to drag Mother, but I just didn't see it. And I'm not going to see it, but it sounds awful. So
it does sound awful.
My in absentia dragging. Anything for you that was in the middle?
Justice League.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That was definitely in the middle.
That was one that
it was enjoyable for what it was, but definitely not one of the best films of 2017.
Yeah, I think I would put. The The Mummy up there too.
Oh yeah,
That's one that I liked it.
it was fine.
Yeah, I mean it's not great.
No.
Certainly, but I didn't. To me, it was like I guess when you remember that it probably cost $200 million and was supposed to be the start of like this huge thing, and had all these supposedly really competent people, Alex Kurtzman in the director's chair, working on it, then it becomes like, oh, you guys should have done better than that. If it was like the original Mummy, where who's Stephen Sommers? Oh, George of the Jungle is in this Egypt movie.
Right.
Who's Rachel Weisz? And they just make like this entertaining movie that's got problems. It's like, okay, fun. But yeah, when Tom Cruise and $200 million makes this.
Yes.
And the guy from Gone Girl, Good Girl. What kind of girl is she? She's a new girl. From New Girl. Then that's bad news.
Yes.
Did we talk about TV? What about TV?
We didn't really talk about TV.
Let's talk
that
about
much.
TV.
Okay.
What'd you like on TV?
Game of Thrones, per usual.
Yeah, Game of Thrones, still pretty solid.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I'll
tell you what I liked.
What'd you like?
Legion.
Oh yeah, Legion.
Yeah.
Legion was really good.
Strong.
Yeah.
And one of those things that was just long enough, leave you wanting more.
Yes.
Like I'd love to see a second season. Now, of course, with the whole Fox Disney thing, God only knows if we ever will, but would like to see that.
I really liked Dark Matter too.
Yeah.
And I'm sad that it's canceled.
Yeah. Kiss that one goodbye.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I call it turn out the lights. So it's Dark Matter because I always fall asleep when I watch Dark Matter.
No.
I don't know if I watch it at the wrong time.
Really?
Or if the android's voice is too soothing. I like the show, and they are clearly making the most out of the $25 budget. Like they stretch that to infinity. And it's Farscapey in its sort of subverting of, okay, we've set this up. We know what this plot is. It's going to be this. It's like, no, it's not that. Or it was that, but you guys screwed it up and now it's something else. And I like it when shows do that.
Yeah.
They're post, genre, but
oh no.
I don't know what it is. I think I'm halfway through the third and last season, and I can't even tell you what they're doing. They're mad at the Japanese guy. I know that.
Yeah.
You're not going to say Twin Peaks, huh? No Twin Peaks.
Well, yeah, Twin Peaks.
Dougie Jones.
I don't know. The third season was weird to me.
Yeah?
Like, weirder than the other two seasons. And I'm still not sure. I feel like I'm still unpacking how I feel about it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, like, with, like, the ending, like, how it ended. Like, what even happened.
And you'll never know.
No.
You'll never know.
No. I'll never know. And there'll be no more. And
never say never.
yeah, I suppose.
Can never say never.
I suppose.
Yeah. Still, though, anything, when you think about it, how long do you have to wait in years for like a David Lynch movie? Right?
Right.
And usually they are masterpieces.
Yeah.
Or total garbage. But even like a masterpiece of garbage.
Right.
And this is like, you got 18 hours of David Lynch writing and directing. So what do you want?
That's true.
I'm willing to put up with Dougie eating cake for the 11th time, in order for us to get some of the real good stuff.
I suppose. Yeah.
But it probably could have been like 9 episodes. cut that way down. I want to mention Mindhunter.
Yes.
Which is the Zodiac is a TV show that I never knew I wanted. And again, I think had a kind of a weak ending. I think when you have these streaming shows and you get X amount of episodes and it's going to be this long, but are we going to get to do it again?
Right.
I don't really know how because nothing's guaranteed in TV, but I feel like if we put, Charlie Sheen in a situation on 2.5 Men, we're fairly certain we're going to get to resolve it. Unless he goes nuts and we fire him next year. And so I feel like streaming shows have to kind of wrap things up, but also leave it open. And that's kind of a weird balancing act.
Yes.
So we'll definitely, it has been renewed. We will see a second season of Mindhunter. But if there wasn't, that was not really a great ending.
That's true.
Although that one guy, Cameron, what's his name though? The guy that plays Ed Kemper.
Yeah.
He better get something.
Oh my gosh.
Golden Globe, Emmy, something.
Seriously.
God, this has been a great year for guys playing psychos, but playing them real flat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you'll notice I, Tanya isn't on any of our lists.
Right.
But the guy that played, God, can't remember the real people's names now, but Galuli's friend, you know?
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
The guy that played that guy was like, he was
spot
great.
on.
He was great.
He was, yeah.
Where's the movie about him? Forget
I know.
Tanya Harding.
I know.
I want to know, do a Confessions of a Dangerous Mind style film where we see that he is like an international operative, like he really is, like that's his life, or at least his weird sort of mental life, you know what I mean?
Right.
And yeah, let's see that film. Boy, that's it for movies and TV.
What about American Gods?
Oh yeah. You'll notice that it wasn't on my list. Neither was Star Trek Discovery.
Oh yeah.
Mainly because Star Trek Discovery is not done yet, and I have enjoyed it so far. But they did this. It's not episodic anymore. It's a serial, right?
Yes.
So I'll know how I feel about it when it's over.
Fair.
Yeah, thank you. And I kind of feel the same way about American Gods.
Okay.
Even though they had their first season and it's over, and Brian Fuller won't be returning for the second one, so
I know.
I don't know.
I'm wary of it now.
Yeah. So for that reason, I left the 2 Brian Fuller shows off of my list.
Okay.
You know. Is that it?
I think that's it.
We didn't talk about comic books. We'll talk about a comic book in a second.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been, as far as we need to cover more indie stuff. But we also need to read more indie stuff. And as far as the big 2 or the big 3 go, I don't know, ups and downs all year. DC has had some great stuff, like the Superman rebirth stuff, and the Dark Knight's, like All-Star Batman is pretty good. The Dark Knight's Metal stuff has been interesting, although I don't really know why DC has to get so weird sometimes with their stuff. It's like they're trying to do a Grant Morrison thing. It's like, you let Grant Morrison do Grant Morrison stuff. But of course now DC's starting, they're bringing the Watchmen sequel stuff in. So you've got a new Rorschach and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, I don't care about that at all.
No.
And it's really tied into a lot of the things that are going on over there. So it's hard to, it's kind of watching through split fingers, you know?
Okay, sure.
At what they're doing. And as far as like the whole Cap is a Nazi thing on the other side of the fence, that's garbage, pretty much. And Marvel not giving a real fighting chance to books that I guess we gave up on. I guess we failed.
Yeah.
So incomplete is the grade that I give comics for this year.
That's
and
fair.
if I'm missing anything, I apologize. Do you remember the year 2000?
Year 2000.
Were you worried that your computer was going to break?
I was a little worried.
Yeah.
There was a part of me that was kind of worried. I remember being really sick.
Oh, really?
The year 2000, and like
that
was gonna go
New Year's Eve?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was gonna go to a friend's house for a party, but was in bed, not feeling well.
Okay, sure.
So
Sure.
yeah.
I remember, I think I was alone. I think I went to a party, but I left before midnight and came home and watched the celebrations from across the world. Or no, wait, I guess this would have been before. Anyway, I saw they did this firework display on the Eiffel Tower.
Okay.
Where it just blew up, basically. Like they had fireworks all up and down the struts, so it all shot out, and it was like this huge thing, which was beautiful. But a year later, in the words of Liz Lemon, oh, that's going to scare people. And I remember being shocked at like, whoa, it's celebratory. That's what's supposed to happen. I was a little worried about my computer and how short-sighted were the people that developed the operating systems that they're like, don't worry about it.
I don't know.
Computers aren't going to be around in 35, 40 years.
Oh, I know, right?
Why would they need to have more than 4 digits for the date?
Yeah.
Forget about it. It's fine.
Right.
Not a lot of foresight there.
No.
Or not 4 digits, whatever it is, the day, date, and the year or whatever.
Yes.
I didn't think ahead on that one. Maybe they thought that what they were building would have been supplanted by then, but the architecture of the modern PC is similar in a lot of ways than it's been since its inception.
Right.
And so, it just never really changed, and they had to fix that. But anyway, this is a comic book. It's called I Die at Midnight, and it deals with millennial frustration and anxiety.
Yes.
Although not specifically necessarily with the kind that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Although it does serve as a backdrop for the story. It was originally published, funnily enough, on the 1st of January in the year 2000.
Okay.
So maybe they just... Kyle Baker, writer, artist, colorist, did everything of the Cowboy Wally show, Why I Hate Saturn.
Right.
Ringing a bell?
Yes.
Yeah. Very talented guy. Not a fast worker. The detail he puts into his stuff, I think, shows.
He puts a lot of detail.
And he also works on a million things at once. And so it's possible that he just missed the date, but also it's possible that maybe DC didn't want to contribute to, let's say that it was as bad as the guys with the sandwich boards were predicting, and the world went to hell. You publish this comic that 2 weeks before it all goes to hell that nobody wants to read now because it's
right.
So maybe they just went, nope, it was fine. We all knew it was going to be fine. Okay, let's publish this comic where it's not fine, and things do go very wrong.
Right.
What is I Die at Midnight about?
I Die at Midnight is about a guy who decides he's going to commit suicide by overdosing on pills because I know, hilarious, because life just isn't worth it anymore without Muriel. And he's written this note and everything, and then who knocks on his door after he's taken these pills but Muriel,
right,
saying that she wants him back and she knows that she's treated him badly and all this stuff.
Right.
And so then he immediately wants the pills out of his stomach, but he can't throw up because she's there.
Reasons.
And
because reasons.
And she can't know. He doesn't want her to know that he almost committed suicide.
Right, because that would harsh their reunion.
Yes.
For sure.
And she goes into the bathroom and is crying, so he can't go throw up in there. And there's this great sequence where he goes out the window, and nope, there's a biker gang. And
he runs to the sink. It's full of dishes.
Yes. He goes into the hallway. There's a guy mopping.
Did you get to tell? Nobody, first of all, nobody can time, sorry, Jeff Smith, nobody can time a joke in a comic panel like Kyle Baker can.
Yeah.
His visual jokes alone. And I think that in his past, he's done a lot of things in his past. He doesn't want to know about it. No, I'm just saying, he's been in the industry for a long time. He was an intern at Marvel when he was 17. He's been an animator. He's published his own stuff. And I think that he relies on his line work to tell the story enough that he doesn't do word balloons.
Right.
And this is all the way back to Cowboy Wally, which was his first graphic novel, which is more of a talking head thing. So it's kind of like the old newspaper cartoons you'll see, like a political cartoon or something, where it's just the words are under it. And there's no word bubbles.
Sure.
But even as he's translated to animation and to a more fluid style, he still keeps the text outside of the art.
Yes.
And in my opinion, it's perfect because you could read the script. You could just read the words as a script with maybe a couple indications as to what's happening and get it. Or you could read this as a silent thing and just about get it.
Yeah.
There's some specific things that you might not understand about the relationships between the characters, but you can get everything from what's going on.
Yes.
And so there's a great thing when he he's trying. He goes to the bathroom, so she's in the bathroom, so he can't throw up in the toilet.
Yes.
But he does. We get that he's worried about how she feels about him, and he listens at the door, and we cut to inside the bathroom, and she's despondent. She's on the toilet, just sitting on the toilet, with a handful of handkerchiefs, and she's crying. And we cut back out to him, and he gives a thumbs up to the camera, like,
yeah,
it's good that she's really sad. That means that this is real. I'm happy she's sad.
Yeah.
And then he runs out, like you said, to the outside. He's just going to throw up down the staircase, but the janitor is there. And then and he's like, how you doing? Oh, it's pretty good. How about you, Bob? And he's like, not great. Saw my wife today.
Yeah.
She's in the hospital. She's down to just a tiny little thing, skin and bones. And there it was. She told me, end it, please kill me. And right on the cart was enough morphine to send her off. But I couldn't do it. And this paragraph goes on and on. And then we cut back to Larry, and he's just blankly listening to this.
Yes.
And then on the next page, it flips over and he's like, shit, I just forgot I left my sister's baby in the bathtub. Shit. There's no sister, there's no baby or anything. He just runs off. It's just like, nobody can time a joke like he does in that way. And there are plenty of jokes like that in this.
Yes.
He's he's taking these pills, and the clock is running, literally.
Yes.
Because it's about an hour or so till midnight. And I haven't spent a lot of time going around Manhattan, especially on New Year's Eve, but they probably could have given themselves a little bit more room in some of these times, because they make it from, I don't know, where Larry lives, in Midtown maybe or something.
He lives on 2nd
to Times Square in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And they go and visit his grandmother, or Muriel's grandmother.
Yes.
Which wouldn't work. But he has to get help from somebody for these pills, right?
Yes.
So what's he do?
He calls up a friend.
Gigi.
Well, he calls up another guy first.
He calls Charlie.
To get Gigi's number. And Charlie is the chatterbox.
Yeah.
A little bit. And he's like, yeah, I had a fight with a girlfriend tonight.
Yeah.
And you pan out.
Yeah.
And the apartment is
and it's
just a mess.
It's just one splash page where we see that Charlie is a gargantuan Neanderthal of a man.
Yes.
And he has... We presume he has leveled his apartment in rage. And then all the text is just a sidebar along the thing. So we're reading this conversation, but we're absorbing this scene of violence. And we know in one panel, this is a dangerous, dangerous guy.
Yes.
And, of course, because this is a 44, maybe 60-page story, the girlfriend that he's lost is Muriel.
Yes.
Yes.
And she's gone back to Larry.
Right.
So, he gets Gigi's number from him. He calls Gigi. She insists that he goes to a hospital.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, but she can't.
Right. But it starts off, he's like, hey, a friend of mine took some pills and he's really worried about what's going to happen. She's like, call 911, Larry.
Yeah.
No, it's not me. But immediately she knows, like,
that it's him.
You're in a lot of trouble, Larry. You got to call 911.
Yeah.
Yeah. As he tries to give him advice, and eventually the advice is essentially he has to bargain with her, because he's like, look, you've told me what to do, but I can't do that. So I need your next best advice.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm going to call 911. And then he starts threatening her. He's like, I'll leave my apartment. I'll just go out in the street and they'll find me dead. If you don't give me the very specific, help me the way I want to be helped, not the way you want to help me.
Yes.
And so she tells him, no matter what happens, you've got to either throw up or go to the hospital, and it has to be in the next 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Or you're doomed. And he's like, okay, got it, thanks. And then as soon as he hangs up the phone, the bathroom door opens, and then we see another great cut. We see a clock, and it's 11:22, and then it's 11:51. And I've got the times wrong because he'd be dead already. But and then you see him ring, ring. Gigi's like, what's going on? He's like, I didn't throw up. And you see that he's holding a sheet, he's naked, and Muriel's in bed, and they've clearly had makeup sex, but he chose to do that instead of doing what he was supposed to do. So Gigi's like, hospital now. But they work out a thing where she knows what the pills that he took were, and she's got some pills that will act as an antidote.
Yes.
So he grudgingly gets her to agree to meet him at this party. She'll give him the antidote. And she doesn't want to do any of this.
No.
This is all against her Hippocratic oath, but she's saving a life here.
Right.
And so she happens to know Charlie.
Yes.
And so they're actually going to go hang out at a party or something like that. So she meets Charlie, and they go down in the subway, and they're waiting for the train to come. And they're talking about Larry and how he's a nut and everything. And he apparently he took these pills, and I've got the antidote. And he wants to get back with this girl that he's crazy for. It's like Muriel or something like that. Anyway, what a hassle. So how have you been? And Charlie pushes her in front of a train.
Yes.
When it's he can do drama too, because that's not what's going on. Except we do see a panel where Charlie himself has taken something. It's not really like he's angry. He's like full of rage, but he's also drunk or he's on something. But there's this one panel where he sees Gigi and she's like this monster, and then he just pushes her under the train. Yeah,
and she somehow survives.
But she's not dead.
Yeah.
And so.
And then it's just a struggle, a fight back and forth between these two.
Yeah. The rest of the book is Charlie chasing Gigi down. Eventually they end up in Times Square. And then Larry, it's Muriel. Larry's going to the party to meet Gigi, but Muriel says they have to take a detour and visit her little grandma.
Who lives in the same building.
Yeah. Who's all alone on New Year's.
Yeah.
And Gigi has told Larry he can't eat anything.
Yes.
And the grandma wants him to try some of her pie. And so he just looks like more and more of an asshole because Muriel's like, just eat the pie, Larry. Take one bite. And then out the window he sees...
It's not like it's going to kill you.
Right, yeah. And out the window he sees on the Jumbotron in Times Square... I don't know why the cameraman's like, look, this guy's trying to murder a lady. But anyway...
Right.
He sees Charlie fighting Gigi. And so... He jumps out of the window, and this whole sort of melee occurs. And we talk about how things end, right? Well, before we get to the end, I want to talk about a few things.
Okay.
First of all, I love the scene where Gigi is clearly, the hero of this story because she is put upon, she's smart and capable, and she didn't ask for any of this.
Right.
But she keeps finding ways to get out of this situation. And Charlie is throttling her in the middle of this crowd that is insensate to her pain because it's like this, it's New Year's Eve. Nobody knows what's going on. She finally like stabs his hand or something with her scalpel or something, and then she sort of gets out of the way, and she's got a scope, otolaryngoscope or whatever, an ear, the thing that the doctor puts in your ear with a light, right?
Yes.
And so people are like, "What's going on?" Like, and Charlie's dressed as a cop. I got to say that's apparently his costume for New Year's Eve.
Yes, everybody likes a guy in a uniform.
Right. So Gigi's running away, and people think that like she's a criminal or something. So looks like they're going to help Charlie. And so she pulls out the thing, and she's like, "Stand back!" And everybody's like, "What?" And she said, "I said, stand back, humans!" And then flicks the light on, and everybody runs away. It's one of those things that doesn't make any sense. But if a Pixar character did that, you would totally buy that.
Absolutely,
you would absolutely buy that. So yeah, what do you think? What's the point of this? What's this about? Because it's a very... Oh, hold on. Sorry.
Okay.
I wasn't done with my question. Because it's a sort of nihilistic story about this guy who wants to kill himself. He's clearly... he had those pills for a reason. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, he is not okay to start off with.
Right.
And he makes this stupid decision, and then he makes a bunch of more stupid decisions to try to undo the stupid decision, and kind of gets rewarded at the end with happiness and the woman that he loves.
Right.
Like, what's it about?
It's about a guy who is desperate to be with this woman. Do
you think that there is any coincidence in the fact that he is clearly drawn to look like Nicolas Cage? Can you see Nicolas Cage playing this role?
Yes.
If this was a film, a live action film?
Now that you mention it, yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Neurotic and...
Right.
Yeah. I could absolutely see that.
Oh, shit. That's my sister's baby in the sink. I'm a sexy cat. Right. No, I just think that, like... So this time, I've read this a million times. And we read it digitally for this round, but I do own it somewhere. I can't find it. And for me, this time around, I was specifically paying attention to what the pills were. And they have a fake name. They're globazine or something like that.
Right.
But are they like antidepressants, or are they a pill? Because near the end of this story, Larry becomes like a hero, like an action hero.
Right.
A guy who, and here's what my point about the theme, a guy who couldn't bear to live and wanted to end his life before is now jumping out of a window and jumping across rooftops, to save his friend.
Right.
For a good reason, but he's almost fearless. And I was like, is that just a choice of friendship, or is it part of his death wish, or has he taken something and the pills that are dissolving in his stomach have like lowered his inhibitions, so he makes this kind of choice? Like, do they all? Because I'm not saying that like Kyle Baker's like a master crafter, like a Jordan Peele when it comes to like putting a story together, but like, does it all? Because it's a very short story.
It is. And
so everything should kind of have a spot and a place. And sadly, like a lot of Kyle Baker stuff, the last couple of pages feel kind of rushed, both in terms of writing and in terms of art.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of his stuff tends to kind of peter out real fast. A lot of good ideas in the beginning, and then it's sort of like, oh, it's done.
Right.
And this ends with all the naysayers being right. All the computers die. There's a helicopter that crashes in the middle of Times Square, bringing like this huge tower down, and there's mass chaos everywhere. And Larry gets back with Muriel, and he takes some pills so he won't die. But we leave it with a sort of uncertain future for the world.
That's very true.
It's kind of a pre-apocalyptic tale.
Yes.
Thoughts on any of that stuff?
We do leave it pretty open-ended and in not a necessarily good way. Everything crashes.
Yeah.
You have a feeling that Muriel and Larry are probably going to be okay.
Yeah.
She doesn't know that he took those pills, so...
I mean, she's a cipher. She's not really even much of a character in this,
that's
to be
true.
fair.
But I did think it was interesting, like, when he was taking the antidote and Gigi's, like, forcing all these pills down his throat. She's all like, wait, what are you doing? And she's like, I can help you, and that sort of thing. Like, she thinks that this is, like... She doesn't know that he's taken all these other pills ahead of time.
I mean,
so
she'll have to be told something at some point.
Yes.
We just don't deal with that in this story.
Exactly.
Yeah. But even at that point, she's still being super supportive. Like, you wonder... you have to imagine what their relationship is like. And we're talking about stuff that I'm sure Kyle Baker never even bothered to think about, because this is just a quick little fun one-shot story.
Right.
But they must have had a somewhat toxic relationship to start off with. Do you know what I mean?
You would
and
think
we
so.
don't know the whole circumstances. I'm not saying that it's his fault that she's trying to commit suicide, but he's clearly felt strongly about this and has done this, and done it in a passive-aggressive way.
Yes.
Because he's left this note. And of course, the story starts with he's typing the suicide note, but he spelled her name wrong. And he's like, oh, I got to type it all over again. So that kind of slows everything down. Anyway, and she goes off and like sleeps with this maniac.
I know.
Who we don't ever know the nature of their relationship, but it feels like a revenge thing to me.
Kind of.
You know what I mean? I feel like they didn't have a great relationship to begin with, and now they're back together.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know where a sequel to this would have gone, but it's interesting because this came at a weird time, or not a weird time, but Vertigo was doing a lot of stuff with everybody at this point. It was kind of the heyday of Vertigo, and so they did a couple different things. Why I Hate Saturn and King David were both published under Vertigo.
Okay.
For Kyle Baker. I think they reprinted Cowboy Wally. And these you can probably still find these somewhere, but they're in the big sort of magazine, prestige format. And after King David, which is great, by the way, also ends abruptly, but you should definitely read King David. That came out in 2002, and that was it. Like, he basically moved on from Vertigo after that. So this is a kind of weird thing where, who knows how things get commissioned or how they get started, but he clearly just had this kind of weird little idea, and they're like, all right.
Right.
Fine.
Y2K.
I got no sales figures. I can't tell you. I know that So I'm pretty sure that Kyle Baker retained all the rights to everything that he did for Vertigo because he just offers them on his website now. You can go to his website, or at least you used to be able to. You could go to Quality Jollity, his website, and he just had them on there. You can just read them on his website.
Oh my gosh.
So clearly he was like, yeah, got everything I was going to get out of those.
Well, that's kind of weird.
Yeah. It's funny. This reminds me in a lot of ways of You Are Here, which if you haven't read, you should.
I think I have read that.
What's it about?
You put me on the spot.
If I say it's about a former thief who falls in love with a lady that loves animals, and it's their adventure in downtown Manhattan together. You haven't read it.
I guess I haven't read it.
It's kind of an uptown girl, downtown boy kind of story. And it's a lot like this. It's urban, and it deals with a character who, I can't remember the character's name, but that guy's a lot cooler than Larry. But it's the same sort of like, I find myself in these weird situations, and I have to do insane suicidal things in order to keep my girlfriend alive, who has no idea what's going on. And that's sort of about the end, the breakup of a relationship instead of two people coming together. So
okay,
yeah, this could be seen as an answer piece to that, but not, because the point I'm trying to get to is, I think that he just shot this off in an afternoon. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, I think that this is, as far as Kyle Baker stuff goes, this is barely an afterthought, and yet there is so much talent and good stuff even in this thing that he just kind of was like, oh yeah, and then this.
Yeah.
It's not like King David, something he spent, or Nat Turner, something he spent a long time like thinking about and working on. It was just like, there you go.
Right.
And there are parts of it that are just masterful, but
yes.
ultimately it doesn't really add up to a lot.
That's fair.
Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad I could give a review for both of us. Would you recommend the book?
I would 100% recommend it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would too.
I think it's very entertaining.
Yeah, I would recommend all of his stuff.
Okay.
Definitely. A good entry point would probably be You Are Here. I think that would give you everything you need to know about Kyle Baker's stuff. King David is a little weirder, and it's also biblical, but it's great. Cowboy Wally is fantastic, but Cowboy Wally is like a Marx Brothers like routine.
Okay.
Just like drawn out. Like there's very little action, and it's all like it's kind of done in these 3-panel lines, like 1, 2, 3, 4, left and right page, 3-panel, 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 and you could just cut them all out and then publish them in the New Yorker or something. Like they're all
okay,
kind of their own jokes that string together into one narrative. But it's fantastic. And then if you've read Why I Hate Saturn, right?
Yeah, I have.
Good, but definitely of a certain time.
Yeah.
You have to kind of know the world of New York in the 80s to really get Why I Hate Saturn, but also good. Also ends really abruptly.
Yeah.
With rocket launchers. As all things should. Yeah, I would definitely recommend this as well. I would like to give you a recommendation or a list of things that we're going to do on the next show, but we're not going to do something on the next show, at least not for a while. Comic Book Club is being retired, at least for now, as we move into kind of a new phase, a new future for Just Enough Trope. I've been thinking about it a lot recently, like the structure of the show, and then I've been talking to other people at cons, fans, other podcasters, and they always ask, oh, okay, so you're Just Enough Trope, so like you talk about like tropes and things like that. And I go, well, obliquely. I mean, we talk about films and we talk about comic books and TV shows and things like that, and we touch on those things, but we don't really we're not dedicated to talking about tropes. And the original conception of the show is that we would be talking about tropes in
right.
films and comic books, and even video games and things like that. And so as we come into a new year, I felt like it was the perfect time to pivot and try to get the show back to those original roots, that original concept for the show. So what I envision going forward is that when the show returns, and we'll be taking a little break, and we'll come back in maybe late January, maybe early February, but the show will be a bi-weekly show that will examine tropes in popular entertainment and nerdy entertainment and gives you a little treatise sort of every week or every other week about those certain tropes in film. So, example, this will probably be the first show. Do you know what diegetic music is?
No, I don't.
Diegetic music in film specifically is when you can hear some music and the characters hear it too.
Okay.
So when Luke Skywalker is swinging across a gap and you hear he doesn't hear that.
Right.
But when Philip Marlowe goes to get some cat food in The Long Goodbye and he walks into the store and you hear so long goodbye.
Yes.
He hears that.
Right.
And he hears it when he gets in his car and turns the radio on.
Right.
And he hears it when he's at a fancy restaurant and the orchestra's playing it. That's a special case. That's kind of the example of this. But that's sort of a trope. That's an idea. Sometimes, and a couple of the movies that we've seen recently, there was an example of them using that in Lady Bird. There's an example in, I think, I, Tonya as well. He's working on the car, and he's hearing Rock You Like a Hurricane or whatever it is. And we hear it because it was a trailing or a leading cut coming in from the scene before. But then when Tanya wants to talk, he reaches in and turns off the stereo and the soundtrack cuts out.
Right.
And so I want to explore things like that, not only in films, but in TV as well. And also using that in print and comic books. And there are more than a few examples that I can think of as far as that goes.
Okay.
Other tropes that would be exploring are broad ones, like the idea of a master and a pupil, and often the pupil supplicating the master for training and him refusing.
Okay,
I mean,
sure.
That came to me because of The Last Jedi, clearly. But
Yes.
You get that in something like Kill Bill. You get that a lot in what the Kill Bill movies were coming off of, which was like Shaw Brothers movies and Kung Fu movies and things like that.
Sure.
And seeing like why we continue to see that element or that story. Or it could even be something as specific as character is asleep, right? Character has had a wild night of passion with another character. Character is half awake, reaches over to the other side of the bed, and that character is not there.
Yeah.
That other person, and the character wakes up and goes, "Well, what? Have you ever done that even one time in your life?"
I don't think I have.
Yeah, no one has. And so that might not be an entire show, but behaviors like that is something that I want to explore in a trope show as well.
Sure.
Or the idea of when you are brushing your teeth and somebody comes in and they want to have a serious discussion with you. And they have it by looking at your reflection in the mirror and you look at them.
In a mirror.
Yeah. Does anybody ever do that? Or do you just turn your head around and yell at them while you're brushing your teeth?
You
Face to
turn
face?
their head around.
I would think so too. But yet as recently as Lady Bird, we saw an example of that in film.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to do. That's what I want the new direction of the show to be. Getting back to that idea of exploring those tropes. And maybe I can get a freaking Amazon show out of this thing. Who knows? We'll see. So that'll be every other week. And then in the intermittent weeks, when we're not doing specific tropes, we'll come back and we'll do news.
Okay.
We used to do that.
Yeah.
We had specific news and update shows. We can bring updates on news from the world of nerdy entertainment. Also, that's when we can do specific reviews. We can talk about comic books, the movies that are coming out. We definitely want to have our review of Black Panther, for example.
Yes.
And so we'll be delivering that. Although there's a lot of tropes I can think about just in the pitch of Black Panther that could be explored on a trope show.
Sure.
So we'll be doing that as well. So that's a new future. That's a new thing going forward for Just Enough Trope. And we hope that you, the audience, will come along with us on that. And to that end, you can tell us what you think about our new direction and how you think it's going by following us on our social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter. Part of our New Year's resolutions is recommitting to those platforms and getting more content out there for those. Here's the deal. I've basically given up on Pinterest.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worthless, right?
Yeah.
Like if you want to repin we got cool stuff on there, but it doesn't really we're not communicating with the audience at all. That it doesn't bear any fruit there.
That's true.
And so there's no real point to it. So probably going to ease off on that. But we have a ton of pictures from our time that we spent at cons, hanging out with fans that have not seen the light of day on our Instagram yet, or even in our Twitter feed or our photo albums on Facebook. And so we're looking to get those up and also delivering more of those pictures as we go to cons throughout 2018. So you don't want to miss the boat on that. Find us at Just Enough Trope on all those platforms. And also always, as always, subscribe to the show. If you're on Apple Podcasts, if you're on Google Play, or if you're on Stitcher, we just joined TuneIn. We are now a show on TuneIn, part of the TuneIn family, so you can find them there as well if that's where you get your shows. Subscribe to the show because it's the best way to get it. It comes out immediately and you know exactly where you're at. And also give us a review. We would appreciate that because, geez, I love hearing from the fans and hearing how they think we're doing. And if it's good, be sure to say something. What is it? If it's bad, say nothing.
Yeah.
And at the very least, give us a rating on one of those platforms because that's how it works in this world of pod. You give us a high rating, the platform of choice knows that we're doing a good job, and we move up in the ranks and we get to be exposed to more people, and more people get to hear the sweet, dulcet sounds of our voices. So when you're out there, give us 5 pills taken before midnight because you can't go on without Muriel.
That's right.
And you have to fix, there's no A in Muriel, so you got to retype the letter.
That's right.
But then she comes in and she's like, Larry, I'm so sorry I missed you. And he's like, and then he realizes he's behind her shoulder that like the computer screen is still on with the note typed on it. So he has to be like, oh yeah, I understand, and maneuver her around and then like pull the plug out of the computer with his foot so it goes off. So who wants any of that hassle? Just give us 5 stars. We'd appreciate it. Well, it's been a long, strange journey up to this point, and it's been a fun one. 2017 was definitely the rapids part of the river, but
yes,
I have to imagine it's opening up after this to the mile-wide Mississippi.
That's right.
And we're just floating along with Huck and Jim, having a good time.
Yes.
How long has it been since you read Huckleberry Finn?
Probably since high school.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Can you even get Huckleberry Finn anymore?
Of course you can.
It's been banned in a lot of places.
I'm sure you can get it, so.
Banned books. There's a trope that we'll have to explore in a future show. So anyway, tune in for that in the future, I guess. And until then, we're signing off. I'm your host, Kaliban.
I'm your co-host, Mikan Hana.
Keep the geek fires burning.